the channel. I'm Nika, and welcome finally to the long-awaited Fnaf review series, starting with the 2014 horror game about haunted animatronics, the souls of kids, and a purple murderer who cannot die, all made by the game creator Scott Cawthon, Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, of course, before we start this first episode, because this is going to be the first episode of 9, there's going to be 9 parts, and I'm going to slap on an extras, because I'm going to go full FNAF! Full FNAF all the way, add an extra section, extras video at the end of this review series. And of course, just wanted to let you guys know before we actually start the review, I wanted to let you guys know that I won't be keeping the story section from the Return to Bloody Night review, mainly because that, well, I already am going to be replacing that. Also, it would make this video way too lengthy if I tried to explain the story of FNAF 1. And of course, I would probably get stuff incorrect. I may make mistakes, because I'm going off of this by my own feelings about the game. I don't have any script made. I never really have any scripts made. I just have a solemn idea of what I'm going to try to say in the review. And of course, I add the little sections onto my notebook to my left. So it's going to be replaced with a main game campaign section, which is going to be the first section we're going into. So with that said, let's start the review. Upon starting a new game, you'll be introduced to a newspaper clipping with, of course, an ad for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza hiring for a nighttime security guard. Your character, of course, you having to survive 5 nights at Freddy's. You must last from the hours of 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. without getting stuffed into a suit by these animatronics. Now, as you start the first night, you are immediately introduced to your phone guy, or aka tutorial of this game, who will give you information about the backstory and, of course, well, as much backstory as possible, and of course, what you'd be doing, how to do your job, and how to stay safe from the animatronics. As later on, the phone guy does mention that the animatronics seem to move at night. These guys are haunted. They'll move during the night because it may cause their servos to lock up in the day for some reason. So, yeah, you can already see some red flags with this, of course. But anyways, he pretty much just explains to you what you can use at your disposal, what can keep you safe from these animatronics, as he also does explain how the animatronics don't see you as a person, they'll see you as an endoskeleton without its costume on, meaning that they will stuff you into an animatronic suit because that is against the rules. And of course, it wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for the fact that these animatronic suits have animatronic parts and electronic stuff in them. So, and wires, yeah. So if you get shoved in one of these guys, well, that's game over. You're dead. If you get jump scared, they'll stuff you to a suit and you'll die. So of course the game's very obvious. You gotta survive from 12 to 6 a.m. without letting these guys into your room. As the phone guy pretty much just explains, it helps you get settled in on your first night, and of course wants to get you through your first week. Their animatronics aren't really that active on night 1. The only animatronic you'll most likely see move is Bonnie. Of course, with Chica actually being able to move like more later in the night, but not being able to actually be able to get to your room. Although you can also rarely see Foxy on this night if you don't check your cameras at all. And if you don't check your cameras at all for a few hours, you could possibly run the risk of actually dying by Foxy or having Foxy attack you, which, yeah, good luck with that. Let's get to night 2. Upon starting night 2, you're immediately greeted again by the phone guy, who is willing to give you some more information about the usage of your lights and the animatronics. The useful of your lights is to help you see in your door's blind spots, as the cameras have some blind spots, and those blind spots happen to be outside your door. So if you don't see anything on the cameras, make sure to check the door light, as they can appear right next to your office and not be in your room until they're in the blind spots, which is what the lights are used for. He also mentioned that Freddy also becomes more active in the dark, meaning that's another reason not to run out of power. Also, keep a nail on this. It does come in later. I'll save the power thing for the mechanical and gameplay section. But yeah, you must conserve your power in order to make it through the night. And of course, if you run out of power, well, that's when Freddy kills you. The lights go out and he becomes more active. So I guess that's another reason not to run out of power, right? Anyways, he does introduce a new animatronic on this night, being Foxy. If you haven't already rarely seen him on night 1, Foxy becomes a lot more active on this night, on night 2, as Phone Guy explains how he is a very unique animatronic and becomes more active if the cameras remain off for long periods of time, as he does not like being watched, so you must make sure to check his pirate code from time to time. Other than that, Night 2 is pretty much just like a bit harder, with Bonnie moving almost immediately, Chica actually being more active, and of course the introduction of Foxy. But with that said, let's get to Night 3. Upon starting Night 3, you are again greeted by the phone guy who says things starting to get real tonight. He also does mention on Night 2 that as time progresses, the animatronics become more active, more hyperactive. So as the game continues, of course, the difficulty ramps up as each night has its own difficulty and, of course, flow to it. So with that said, of course, back to Night 3, the phone guy explains how maybe if you get caught, you could probably try to play dead. Maybe they'll think of you as a Fazbear suit without the endoskeleton. But then immediately drops this as he wonders if they'll just stuff an endoskeleton into you, and just completely drops it in general and just says it's just better not to get caught. Which is definitely one of the more funnier comedy lines of this game. And of course, a part of Scott Cawthon's twisted humor with the game, of course. Which is, honestly, it just makes me laugh, honestly. Anyways, though, Night 3 is when things get real. It's actually probably the most different night compared to all the other nights, as, at least from what I believe, because Chica and Foxy become more predominant on Night 3. As Bonnie tends to only move at starting at like 2 or 3 a.m. as you're mainly just dealing with Chica and or Foxy at the beginning of the night until around halfway through the night, when Bonnie becomes active, and rarely Freddy can become active too, so pretty much all of them can be active on Night 3. But that's where Night 4 comes in. Also, upon getting a phone call from the phone guy on Night 4, you realize something off. There's more tendency in his voice, and he seems a lot more worried, and it's almost as if he thinks he's gonna die, which you eventually find out that he does die in mid-phone call, meaning you just witnessed a murder. You witnessed these things do kill you. So it's definitely bone-chilling, and now that you're pretty much all alone for this game, as you have no more tutorial, as your tutorial is pretty much dead. He didn't make it through Night 4, and of course, he dies, so that, yeah, he didn't make it through Night 4, leaving you through the rest of the game without him. Also, Night 4 is when things get really difficult. Everyone's mainly out for blood, as Freddy is a lot more active and everyone else in general. Anyways, with that said, let's get on to Night 5. Now, surprisingly or not, you get a phone call on Night 5. You may be wondering, wait, did the phone guy survive? Well, you'll be creeped out to know that it is not the case. Upon listening to the phone call, you'll hear a lot of distorted voice, a disturbing, distorted, creepy, deep voice, along with some screams in the background before some jump scare noises. Before, of course, ending the call, which you were left completely confused on what the heck just called you, and wondering what the heck it is. And it is definitely bone-chilling, especially for the first time, and you were wondering who the heck it was, and how the heck did they call you. Now, I don't think anyone actually knows who's actually behind this phone call yet, at least from what I believe. But as of right now, at least from what I believe, no one really actually knows the actual caller of this Night 5 phone call. But other than that, Night 5 is the final night of the game, and it's definitely one of the hardest nights of the game, being the final night of the game. Now, of course, beating the night gives you the end screen with, of course, a good job sport, see you next week, and a $120 paycheck for the place. Meaning you survive your first week and finish the game. Hooray! You are immediately sent back to the main menu where you have your 1 star, but you'll also realize that there's a 6th night. Oh boy, yes. Okay, I guess 6 nights at Freddy's. Alright. Other than the whole 6th night thing being a bonus night, it doesn't play too much different from Night 5, other than that it is harder. As the animatronics are so active to the point where if they're at your door, you can't leave them there for too long or else they'll disable your doors. So, yeah, good luck with that. Also, you don't get a night call, so you're pretty much completely left alone for Night 6 to beat it on your own. But of course, with that said, upon beating Night 6, you get another paycheck along with another The End screen, good job sport, and you earn some overtime paycheck with an extra 50 cents for your overtime. How fantastic. And of course, Employee of the Month, which is definitely better than the 50 cents if you if you ask me. But who would want to work at this place, be employee of the month for a place that has killer animatronics? I know I wouldn't. Anyways, upon getting back to the main menu screen, you'll realize that you have a second star. Of course, that is not over, as you also have a customizable 7th night, where you get to mess with the AI of the animatronics and create your own personal hell. How about that? Now, of course, there's actually a secret 3rd star that you can get from beating this game in its max mode by setting all the AIs of the animatronics all the way to 20, which is the max mode, the hardest mode, which back in the time of 2014 used to be known as one of the hardest, if not impossible modes of this game. It was said to be impossible until Big Bug became the first person to legitimately beat it, and then, of course, Markiplier using his same strategy, and then eventually me, of course, when I got the game, of course, using the same strategy that Markiplier and Big Bug used. So, yeah. That's pretty much all of the game, Kaylee. Let's get into... That's pretty much the main campaign. You have completed 5 Nights at Freddy's. Now, let's get on to the gameplay and mechanics. Upon starting up the game, you'll realize that you have quite a few things at your disposal. You have 2 lights, 2 doors, and a camera system. And of course, what I mentioned before, your power. Everything in this game uses power. Closing the doors uses power. Using the lights uses power. Well, guess what? If you pull up your camera, it uses power. Meaning that power is your absolute friend in this game, as you must conserve your power through the entire night and try to make it from 12 to 6 a.m. while maintaining your power. Which means you don't want to constantly use your power too much, but want to still be able to use it to monitor the animatronics and see if they're outside of your door. Speaking of which, let's check out the animatronics, starting with Bonnie and Chica, which are fairly simple. Bonnie comes from the left, Chica comes from the right. And of course, they'll get to your doorways, but this is when newbies sadly make mistakes, as they'll end up closing the doors by panicking too much by them just being down the hallway or just in the corner, which you do not want to do. It's just going to make you waste your power more. What you want to do is wait for them to be in your blind spots where you can see them with your lights. That is when you properly close the doors. But when do you tell if you can open the doors? Well, when the doors are closed, if you shine the light, you can actually see Bonnie's shadow and, of course, Chica in the window. So if you see that the shadow of Bonnie's gone, or if Chica's actually gone from the window, that's when you know you can open the doors and be safe. Now, Foxy plays a little differently than this, as he's more of a 3-stage animatronic and then rush you type of deal. You want to check the cameras on his pirate cove and check on him. He has 3 stages: peeking, out, and of course, gone. Speaking of which, if he's gone, if you check the hallway camera of camera 2A, well, he'll rush down and you have little time to react to close that left door before he gets in and kills you. So the proper way to deal with this is, of course, if he's gone, make sure to close the left door before checking the hallway camera. This will make him go bang on the door and then reset. You can then open the door almost immediately as he bangs on the door, but not before, or else you'll pretty much be essentially letting him in. Now, of course, there's a catch to this. You must pay attention to him and keep him inside, because watching him is what slows him down. He does not like to be watched, and keeping the cameras up and watching him is what slows him down. Now, you want to slow him down mainly because you don't want him to hit your door more than once, because if he hits your door on a 2nd attempt or a 3rd attempt, any other time he hits the door other than the first, he will rob you of power. He robs your power. And if he robs your power, you won't be able to make it to the end of the night, because you'll just run out of power. Which is also when Freddy kills you. Freddy can only kill you when the power goes out. But of course, that is on the later nights until he's actually active, starting from nights 4 to 6. I mean, he can be active on night 3, but night 4 and up is when he actually starts to be moving. Anyways, along with that, let's talk about Freddy. Freddy's a lot more interesting than the other animatronics, mainly because, well, now Freddy is a lot like Chica, but he has a set path, and he does not go back. So unlike Chica, he has a set path, kind of like Foxy, but he actually keeps moving until he gets to your right door. And he actually does not appear in your blind spot at the door and will just stay in the corner. So if you check your camera with that door open and you're not checking Freddy, he can actually sneak in, be in the room with you for a bit before then killing you. Also, a good indicator of him being close is his laughter. The louder his laughter, the more closer he is to your room. and where Chica can just move wherever on the right side she can go to, Freddy pretty much has a set path, goes from cam 1B to 7 to 6, then 4A, and then 4B, which is right at your corner of your door. And at this point is when you want to close the door every time you check the camera, because if you have the door open when you check the camera, you're essentially giving him a chance to sneak into the room, then for killing you. So yes, he can kill you if you run out of power, and of course if he gets to your room and you keep the door open when you check the camera, he can sneak in and kill you that way in the middle of the night as well. Which is actually terrifying. He definitely has one of the most, if not the most terrifying jump scares in the entire game. Not the night one though. The night one's pretty alright, but the most scariest one is his second jump scare in the middle of the night. But of course, if you don't want to be using all this power by keeping the right door closed every time you check the camera so that you can keep him out of your room, the best way is, and it only works from nights 4 to 6, make sure to check him. Much like you check Foxy, check the main stage and Foxy. Checking the main stage will slow down Freddy and keep him on stage for a lot longer. But if you don't check him enough, he will eventually leave, and that's pretty much it. Watching him on any other camera does not slow him down. He will just continue to move and vice versa. Because if you keep watching him on the stage, he can stay on stage for the entirety of the night as long as you're being persistent with watching his camera along with Foxy's. But yeah, it doesn't work on the 20 mode though, because the animatronics are pretty much gone almost immediately as the 20 mode starts. So yeah, that's pretty much most of the mechanics. Of course, you have your power and then your doors and lights. They all use power, and you must make it from 12 to 6 a.m. So yeah, if you run out of power, Freddy also does his little Torador march, and it's pretty much up to luck if he does his long song or short song. If he does his long song and you're at 5 a.m., you have a good chance of surviving. If you're at 5 a.m. but he does his short song, you have a good chance of just him killing you before you even make it to 6 a.m. Anyways, though, let's get on to the animatronic designs. Animatronic designs in this game, I feel, are pretty much absolutely solid. They're really good designs. They're probably the most realistic designs in terms of actual design for animatronics. They obtain this very creepy vibe to them, like Chuck E. Cheese-ish, like mascot type of deal with it, because like the animatronics are not exactly clean. They're pretty run down, pretty old looking. They're not exactly new or shiny. They're just pretty gritty and of course very freaking terrifying and intimidating, which makes for this being one of the most creepiest games I've ever played in my life as I started playing it. I still love Fnaf 1 though, don't get me wrong, it's really good. I love how it's scary, and the animatronic designs are no less. They are really good. They are very creepy, unsettling designs that really work well with the whole mascot animatronic theme, which is really freaking cool. So, yeah, I think the animatronic designs are very solid. Of course, Foxy's being the most intimidating because he has them sharp teeth, he has a hook, an eye patch, and, I mean, he's a freaking pirate after all. And you can tell you don't want to be around him or his teeth. And, of course, Freddy being another intimidating force, as if he leaves off the stage, he has these creepy endoskeleton eyes, meaning his eyes are completely pitch black with white pupils, which is just freaking terrifying. It's freaking terrifying. Yeah, stay away from Freddy and Foxy. Bonnie and Chica are still somewhat intimidating too. Chica being just freaking creepy, and honestly, Chica's probably one of the creepiest animatronics, and I know that there are some people that actually are extremely creeped out by Chica in general because of her open wide beak and just the way she looks. She's just this derpy, creepy character, and I like that. Anyways, though, let's finally get on to the flaws of the game. And the game doesn't have many flaws at all. The only really flaw I see is the cameras. The camera usage is the only flaw I can actually see with this game. And of course, actually, there's one other flaw, but these two flaws are very minor flaws, and actually a lot of games tend to suffer from the one flaw I'm about to talk to, and that's camera usage. Just like in the Return to Bloody Nights, it's having the same issue. The camera usage in this game is not really all useful, as the only camera you really ever freaking need is the Foxy and or stage cameras, but mainly the Foxy camera, because Foxy, of course, like I said, you gotta keep watching him to make sure he stays there, and make sure that you're slowing him down by checking him with the cameras, because it doesn't matter where the animatronics are in the building if they could just pop up by your door, and you could obviously just check your light if they're there or not. So really, there's no point of even tracking the animatronics, and you just need to really pay attention to Foxy, and of course Freddy on those later nights if you want to keep him on the stage and not waste any power by having him at your right door. But yeah, a lot of games and FNAF fan games tend to suffer from this same thing of camera usage, as most games have like this whole camera usage flaw where only like 1 or 2 or just a small amount of the cameras are actually useful. But yeah, anyways, it's not really much of a big flaw, of course. The game still flows really, really well along with the ambiance and all that. It's really creepy, and it's just a very small flaw, so it doesn't really matter. It's still a really good game and flows really well, even with this one flaw. The other flaw is that this game is actually somewhat luck-based. Of course, with the 20 mode at the end of the night, most of the game is skill, don't get me wrong, which is why this is another just a very small flaw. But there's like some luck to it, as especially when the animatronics are at the door, there's no set rhythm for how long they're at the door. Like in Finance Phase 1, when Markiplier played Night 2, Bonnie wouldn't leave his door for like the entire night until like 3 a.m., wasting his power and causing him to die by Freddy at the end. So it is somewhat luck-based. I don't really like that much, especially the 20 mode where it's all skill until you get to the power going off, and then having to be lucky, being luck-based if Freddy does his long song or not, because he pretty much decides if you beat the 20 mode or not. And of course, I was saying before, you also got to be lucky with Foxy on the 20 mode, as you can check him a lot, but he likes to move whenever he wants, so checking him does somewhat slow him down, but he still can be very active on the 20 mode even if you're watching him, which also causes some luck base. And of course, like I said, with the Bonnie Markiplier thing, this game can be somewhat luck based, but that's just another small flaw. 2 super small flaws, but other than that, let's get to the conclusion of the game. And honestly, this is probably the most iconic Finance Phase game of the entire series. Now, the main question that people like to ask is, does it hold up in 2023? And I think yes. This is a really good game to come back to every now and then. Just every time I pull up this game, nostalgia immediately hits me. I remember the old animatronic designs. I'm like, this is so iconic. Who knew this game would come up to become a multimedia franchise with multiple books, multiple games, sequels, and of course, the movie coming out soon. Plushies, action figures, and all that. This game really holds out very freaking well. I love it. The ambiance, the creepy background music, carnival music, and of course the sound design of the games, like the cameras, doors, and then the lights. Everything flows really good together. Make for an all-out anxiety-induced tension feel. Because the tension is still there. The tension is still in this game. When you play this game, the tension is probably the best thing that this game does. It creates a sense of urgency where you're like, oh my god, I know I'm gonna die, but I don't know when it's gonna freaking happen, which is the best time to really give the player a jump scare. This game really flows extremely well. It's definitely the most iconic, I do believe. If you guys have your own opinions about that, let me know in the comments below, but I don't think I'm gonna get much hate for calling this the most iconic FNAF game, as it was the game that sparked an entire series. It was the horror game that changed the genre of horror forever, being completely different from the other horror games at the time. And yeah, just everything flows together. The gameplay, the story, the gameplay, the ambiance, carnival music, all that creepy additional stuff in the background. It's all just amazing. Flows extremely well. This is by far one of the best FNAF games in the entire series, and it's just the first one. And I can easily say that this is definitely the most iconic and most fun FNAF game, at least for me. But yeah. That's pretty much it for the FNAF 1 review in our first part of our FNAF review series. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Let me know in the comments down below if you truly think that this is the most iconic FNAF game. And of course, Stay tuned for the newer FNAF review videos, as there is going to be a 9-part series, like I said at the beginning of the video, and I'm going to, of course, slap in extras, go full FNAF on this, and yeah, this was the FNAF 1 review. Thank you guys so much for watching, like I said before. Let me know what you guys think of FNAF 1 in the comments below, and I hope you guys stay safe, have a great day and or night, and I'll see you guys in the next video stream and or post. Later, Gators!